بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. صفة صلاة النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. book of Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, إلى التكبير إلى التسليم كأنك تراه. The last thing that we have discussed last week was the shubuhat, those things that the people bring about in order to encounter what the Shaykh is trying to make very clear to the people, that this book is actually a book compiling what has been narrated from the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding the way he prays. And it does not depend upon any madhab from the madhab, but actually depends on all the madhab. For verily, some of the points, you could find one or two, madhab follows it, another madhab didn't follow it. So the first doubtful matter Shaykh had tackled was the hadith, which is hadith batil. That is, they attribute to the Prophet of Allah saying, اختلاف أئمتي رحمة, that my ummah's ikhtilaf is to be a mercy. Then the second doubtful issue that they have brought about, which is that if the ikhtilaf is prohibited, then what do you say regarding the ikhtilaf of the Sahaba and those imams after them? Is there any difference between their ikhtilaf and the ikhtilaf of the others? So the Shaykh is now, he was, as we were discussing, tackling that point. As for ikhtilaf ummati rahmah, we said this hadith is batil, whatever it's got to do with it is batil. You cannot say the difference among the scholars is to be the rahmah. And we have discussed that, and we brought Imams Ibn Hazm rahimahullah saying, if the ittifaq, if the ikhtilaf is rahmah, then as well the unity means sakhar, wrath of Allah. It doesn't work. And the second doubtful matter, which is that the ikhtilaf between the Sahaba, it is not the same, the Shaykh. He says for two reasons. Number one, the reason for that ikhtilaf. Number two, the impact of that ikhtilaf. As for the reason, the Shaykh was discussing it, and he said that the ikhtilaf of the Sahaba was something necessitated or came as a necessity because it's to do with the way they understand. And this ikhtilaf you cannot get rid of, and you cannot blame such a person to do it, because when they realize that what they are saying is different, they start debating with another. Each one would say, well, this is what is right and what is what wrong. If there was a hint in their mind that whatever is each one is saying is correct, they would never debate with one another. Each one would dissatisfy himself with what he's got, because everybody says that this is haq and this is haq, and you have a choice. But they've never done that. They always have a debate, and if one is correct, then they will abide with what he says. So, for example, what happened between Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Ubay ibn Ka'b in the presence of Umar ibn Khattab. Regarding praying in the one garment, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he said it was because of few clothes at the time. But Ubay ibn Ka'b, he said, no, there is no salah in the one thawb. So if there was everybody satisfied with what he's got, that is to be the religion, they would have never been debating with another. And we discussed as well what Imam al-Muzani had said regarding this issue, and then we're going to go to, after we have discussed as well what Imam Malik had said. It says there that the Imam Malik rahimahullah, and I'm going to quote now from Ibn Kathir, okay, Imam Malik had said and Ibn Kathir had said. So Imam Malik, when Abu Ja'far al-Mansur and then al-Rashid, they wanted to take the madhab of Imam Malik and his book as to be the foundation for everything, Imam Malik himself, he didn't tell them off, because he was the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were different and they have scattered, but saying that everybody is correct, the Sheikh, he said, this is not correct narration from the Imam. Yes, each one he was correct, thinking that he's correct, but they don't think that every person, when they say the opposite, is correct. And then Imam Abdul Barr, he says, and if there was correction in two opposite sayings, then the Salaf would never say to another that you have done wrong. Is that what it is? Yes? And this is where we start. Qala Abdul Barr.
Today is our 5th class, and today is 9th of Sha'ban 1437, 16th May 2016. Page 23 from introduction. Ibn Abdul Barr says, if the conflicting views could both be right, the Salaf would not have corrected each other's ijtihad, judgments and verdicts. Simple reasoning forbids that something and its opposite can both be correct. As the fine saying goes, to prove two opposites simultaneously is the most hideous absurdity. If it is said further, given that this narration from Imam Malik rahimahullah is false, why did he forbid Al-Mansur from bringing the people together on his book Al-Muwatta, rather than acceding to the Khalifa's wish?
He is saying basically, if it is correct that the riwayah is batila, is not correct from the Imam, so why the Imam refused for the Mansur Khalifa, that is to collect or to gather the people on his book Al-Muwatta? Now, so he says,
I say, the best that I have found in answer to this is what Hafid ibn Kathir rahimahullah has mentioned in his
Sharh Ikhtisar Ulum al-Hadith
on page 31, that Imam Malik rahimahullah said, indeed the people have come together on and know of things which we are not acquainted with. This was part of the excellence of his wisdom and impartiality, as Ibn Kathir rahimahullah says. Hence, it is proved that all differing is bad.
So what Imam Malik is saying basically, he's saying that maybe that my book is not really good book enough because maybe other scholars who came, they have seen something which I haven't seen. This is so to show his humbleness. Right, so here, Shaykh says, go on.
Hence, it is proved that all differing is bad, not a mercy.
It's not a mercy. Now,
however, one type of differing is reprehensible, such as that of staunch followers of the madhabs, while another type is not blameworthy, such as the differing of the companions and the imams who succeeded them. May Allah raise us in their company and give us the capability to tread their path.
Gather us with the companion, of course, because the companions are the highest. So gather us with the companions. And the imams, may Allah gather the companions with us, the imams and us with the companions, for the best of the companions. Now,
therefore it is clear that the differing of the companions was not like that of the muqallideen. Briefly, the companions...
So now the cream of the crop. This is the cream of the crop.
The companions
only... the cream of the crop. This is what it is. Companions, this is the answer for that. Now,
the companions only differed when it was inevitable, but they used to hate disputes and would avoid them whenever possible. As for the muqallideen, even though it is possible in a great many cases to avoid differing, they do not agree nor strive towards unity.
So they don't agree, nor they strive to go up to iron their differences. Now,
in fact, they uphold differing. Hence there is an enormous gulf between these two types of people in their difference of opinion, and this was from the point of view of cause.
Remember we said the Sheikh was tackling that doubtful ideology that has been brought about by two things. He said that is the Sahaba radiallahu anhum's ikhtilaf is different from those people's ikhtilaf, the muqallida, from 2 points. Number one, from the reason, sabab, the cause, and the second one is going to be, which is the effect. Look at the effect of ikhtilaf between those people who are muqallida and the effect that took place of the ikhtilaf, the differences amongst the Sahaba. Now,
B. The difference in effect is more obvious. The companions radiallahu anhum, despite their well-known differing in non-fundamental issues, were extremely careful to preserve outward unity, staying well away from anything which would divide them and split their ranks. For example, there were among them those who approved of saying the basmala loudly in prayer, and those who didn't. There were those who held that raising the hands in prayer was recommended, and those who didn't. There were those who held that touching a woman nullified ablution, and those who didn't. But despite all that, they would all pray together behind one imam, and none of them would disdain from praying behind an imam due to difference of opinion.
Right. We have two examples to give you for that. Example number one, the example of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud praying behind Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu in the Hajj. Ibn Affan was a Khalifa, and they were in Mina, and the Salah in Mina is to be Dhuhr and Asr, 2 rak'ah. But Uthman prayed the Dhuhr 4 rak'ah. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he was praying behind, and he prayed 4 rak'ah. He never detached himself from praying behind Khalifa Uthman, even though maybe he knows the opinion of Uthman ibn Affan beforehand. He never stepped aside and said, I'm not going to pray behind him, he's going to pray 4 rak'ah. But he prayed behind him 4 rak'ah. But after that he said, verily, I prayed behind the Prophet ﷺ, and behind Abu Bakr, and behind Umar, and verily, I have prayed 2 rak'ah in that place, in such occasion, in such circumstances, I mean in the Umrah, or the Hajj, sorry, not the Umrah, the Hajj, and that is 2 rak'ah. And I wish that my 4 rak'ah is to be 2 rak'ah. But all khilaf is to be evil. Khilaf, which means results from the ikhtilaf. And we differ in the opinion, but if you're going to make into that difference of opinion, that you split, that is the shar. Because Uthman radiallahu anhu, he believes that this is the 4 rak'ah is only for the person who is troubled. That's what he thought. But this 4 rak'ah became 2 rak'ah because of the ritual, because of the nusuk of the Hajj. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he prayed behind Uthman ibn Affan. Whereas we find those muqallida, they will never pray behind one another. If, for example, and I gave you an example before the last time, to do with touching the women, yes? Did I? Touching the women. If the imam was a follower of Shafi'i, or the imam is a follower of Hanafi, and the Shafi'i is behind him, if he saw that imam of Hanafi touching his wife, he will not pray behind him, because he believes that imam's prayer is what? Is invalid, because his wudu is invalid. And vice versa as well. If the follower is Hanafi, following an imam with Shafi'i, and the Shafi'i's imam, he had some blood coming out, the Hanafi will not pray behind him, because we believe that coming out of the blood is negation, or it will invalidate the wudu. The second example I'm going to give you, the example of Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, when he prayed and he led the companion, and he led them because he was the leader in that expedition, small arm. He led them and he was on janaba, and he made tayammum. He did not make ghusl. Okay? He did not make ghusl. The water is there. So none of the companions said, hang on a second, how can we be praying behind you? You're still on sexual defilement, you're on janaba. And you haven't made wudu, you haven't made ghusl. You make him tayammum. But they prayed behind him. But they complained to the Prophet of Allah. They want to see he's right or wrong. But the Prophet ﷺ, he asked them, why? He said, Messenger of Allah, Allah says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمٌ. Don't kill yourselves. Somebody, Allah is merciful to you. And I thought the water is cold. If I wash myself with the water, I'm going to kill myself. And Allah says, don't kill yourself. And that is why I had tayammum. So he smiled at the Prophet ﷺ. Alhamdulillah, and it's okay. So the person was scared that something's going to happen to him. He cannot heat the water, so he tried to make tayammum, and that tayammum was good enough for that person, Amr ibn al-As, Sahabi, may Allah be pleased with him, to lead the companions. But none of the companions, like the Muqallida would say, hang on a second, I'm not going to pray behind him. And they prayed behind him. So the result and the effect of such difference, it did not result in the disunity of the people. Go ahead.
As for the Muqallidin, their differing is totally opposite, for it has caused Muslims to be divided in the mightiest pillar of faith after the two testifications of faith, none other than Salah, the prayer. They refuse to pray together behind one Imam, arguing that the Imam's prayer is invalid or at least detestable for someone of a different madhab. This we have heard and seen, as others beside us have seen. How can it not be when nowadays some famous books of madhabs rule such case of invalidity or detestability?
Some books of madhab, they said it is disliked or even invalid for a Shafi'i to pray behind a Hanafi or a Hanafi to pray behind a Shafi'i. Allahu Musta'an. Now,
the result of this has been that you find 4 mihrab closed in the same large congregational mosques in which 4 imams successively lead the prayer, and you find people waiting for their imam while another imam is already standing in prayer.
okay, first of all, mihrab. The mihrab is that little, what do you call it, close? Okay, niche. I don't know what you call it. Call it mihrab. That little thing which is into the wall of the qibla where the imam stands in it. I just wanted to make sure that you understand that the mihrab is not from the sunnah. And the Shaykh al-Albani, when he said that, he doesn't mean that I am saying that the mihrab is from the sunnah. But unfortunately, so many masajid, they do have this mihrab. Alhamdulillah, our masjid hasn't got it. Do you know why? Because originally it was a synagogue, not a church. It was a church, it will come with a mihrab, packages included, including the package. No, the church had the mihrab, all of it, and it's been taken from, the mihrab has been taken from the church. And they call it the madabih. Al-madabih, this is the original name of the mihrab, al-madabih. So these are like for rituals, and they think, oh, well, this is in this Quran. كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا. So Al-Imran, if every time Zakaria enters upon Maryam in the mihrab, he will find with her food. قال أن لك هذا. He will say, where is it from? قالت هو من عند الله. It is from Allah Azza wa Jalla. So this is mihrab, this is mentioned. We say number one, okay, شرع من قبلنا ليس شرعا. The religion of other people before us is not our religion. So if it's the religion of Ibrahim, or religion of Musa, religion of Isa, may peace and blessing mother, that's not our religion. That's number one. Number two, this mihrab we're talking about is not the mihrab that is in your head, which is that little thing. Because he says, every time Zakaria, peace be upon him, goes on to Maryam, enters upon her, in the mihrab, he will find a food. So that little mihrab is enough for Zakaria, for Maryam, and for the food. That little thing that the people have in the wall is enough for 3 people or 2 people on food. It's not enough even for 1 person. So what is mihrab meant here in the Quran? The temple. The temple. The ibadah place. It's a room. It's not really a little thing. So that little thing, it is not from the sunnah. And if you have a mihrab in the masjid, it is better for the imam to avoid, like Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, like the Salaf al-Salih, كان يتقون الصلاة في المحاريب في المذابح. They used to avoid praying in that little hole. To show what? The ones who are afterwards, not the companions, afterwards to show them that this is not from the sunnah. كانوا يتقون الصلاة في المذابح. So they will avoid those Salaf al-Salih, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and others. They will not pray in that little thing. They'll avoid it, step from the side. And unfortunately, we do have good scholars, mashallah. They said that the mihrab is from the Islam, never been. With respect to our Shaykh ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah, he was wrong in that issue. And others who had gone, not from the scholars, who had said something which is dangerous. They said that this mihrab will save us, or will make us to profit 1 extra row. Do you understand that? That mihrab will make us to profit another row, because the imam will push inside himself, so we have another row, extra row. You know when he's saying this, it's dangerous. Because he's saying that I have found something that the Prophet of Allah did not find I got to something which I believe it is khayr, the Prophet of Allah, he falling short with that. So you are actually saying that you are musharri', you are pushing better sharia than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahu musta'an. So this is dangerous. Yes, we understand the other saying, which they said from Islam because of some unauthentic narrations, yes, but to say that it is not authentic, but it is good to put it because it was Prophet gave us extra line or extra row, that's not right. So the mihrab is not from that. So in some of the masajid that he's talking about, the Shaykh, you'll find 4 niches in that Qibla wall. One for the Shafi'i, one for the Hanafi, one for the Maliki, and one for the Hanbali. Only the 4 Imams. And by the way, the madhab is more than that. But most of it died, except for the 4. Most of them, also madhab. Sufyan al-Thawri is much greater as well. But they let him down, his students. Now,
in fact, to some muqallidin, the difference between the madhabs has reached a worse state than that, such as a ban in marriage between Hanafis and Shafi'is. One well-known Hanafi scholar, later nicknamed Mufti al-Thaqalain, the Mufti of humans and jinn, issued a fatwa allowing a Hanafi man to marry a Shafi'i woman because her position is like that of the people of the book. This implies and implied meaning are acceptable to them, that the verse case and the reverse case is not allowed. That is, a Hanafi woman marrying a Shafi'i man. Just a Muslim woman cannot marry a Jew or a Christian.
Allah musta'an. You know, this is one of the examples of the impact of such differences amongst the muqallida. To the extent that they have now different religions. So you find a man called Mufti al-Thaqalain, well-known person. And this person, he gives fatwa because he's so strong, even to jinn, not just to mankind. The jinn comes to him. Why he had made this fatwa? Because it was a dilemma. At that time, can we make the Shafi'iyya woman to be married to the Hanafi man? And can we make the Hanafiyya woman to be married to the Shafi'i man? And the Shafi'iyya woman to the Hanafi, do you understand that? So either Shafi'iyya woman to a Hanafi man, or Hanafiyya woman to a Shafi'i man. Can we marry that? Can we do that? Why have they done this? It's not to do with the simple difference in the prayers, no. Because it is a split in the Aqidah. They say, the Ahnaf, that the Shafi'iyya are not Muslims. Because they say, Ana mu'min insha'Allah. I am a believer if Allah wills. And Abu al-Hanafiyya, they say that if you say this, that means you are in doubt. You haven't got certainty onto your iman, is it? If Allah wills. You should say, Ana mu'min. And that's it. So that means the Shafi'iyya kuffar. Because they make in their iman like a shaky, doubtful statement. And actually the Shafi'iyya correct. Ana mu'min insha'Allah. And this istithna, we call it exemption. It is dislinked from the way it is the iman in your heart. You say ana mu'min if Allah wills. Because if Allah wills, does not will, I am not going to be mu'min. Only I am going to be mu'min by the will of permission of Allah. It's not I am a mu'min by inshallah. That means maybe, maybe not. It's different. So the understanding of Hanafiya to the statement of the Shafi'iyya was wrong. Resulted in that the Hanafi said, I'm going to second come marry from these people. But they could still marry from what? Christian and Jews. The Hanafi man, not proud. He could take marriage from a Christian or a Jew woman. Because Ahl al-Kitab, it's in the Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah. It's there. So they now in dilemma. What should we do about the Muslims? At least they're better than the Christians and the Jews. So this man now he came, which is the Mufti of the jinn and mankind. He said, I found your solution. What is it? That we will treat the Shafi'iyya woman as to be from the people of the book. That means we allow the Hanafi man to marry her. He did not say, will not allow the Shafi'i man to marry the Hanafiyya woman. He did not talk about that. But that is the implication of this. Because he said, we would treat them as the people of the book. Like a Christian and Jew. So our Hanafi man can marry from the Shafi'i woman, but not the Shafi'i man can never from the Hanafiyya woman. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Right. So, can I ask the brothers as well? Who's there with me? Somebody there? Is somebody put it in book here? Okay, just take that book. Oh, next to it, please. Come close. Everybody be closer. Everybody closer. Right, there is more than this. And I direct you to a book, it's called Bid'at al-Ta'assub al-Madhabi. Muhammad Eid Abbas. This book, great book in this issue. He brings you things unbelievable. This war between Shafi'iyya and Hanafiyya. War. I mean the word war. One person from the Madhab al-Maliki traveled beyond the river where the Iraq and that area, which is Hanafi area. And he used to move his finger, because moving the finger for them, the Malikis, is essential. He's been warned. For those people in the masjid, warned him against that. Don't do that. He did not listen. One of these people who are idiots among them, he cut his finger. Because he keeps moving and he's irritating him. Why do you move his finger? SubhanAllah, not irritated the shaitan, he irritated him. He's acting like a shaitan. So he cut his finger. And we have sayings from the great imams of the Hanafis, for example, Al-Balasagoni, one of them, he says, if the sheep were to fall into a well and dies, and if it dies, it's going to get rotten, isn't it? So they say that, okay, what do you need to do? Take the sheep out, and you can drink the water. And that sheep, what do you do with it? Either you fertilize the land with it, or you go give it to a Shafi'i follower. That's what they deserve, to eat a rotten meat. Give the Shafi'i follower. Now I'm just saying this is a glimpse. Wallahi, it's a glimpse from the ikhtilaf that resulted between those people to have 4 religions, and I mean it, not 4 madhab, 4 religions. Now, follow.
What was the name of the book, sir?
Bad Ta'assub, Muhammad Eid Abbasi, the author, Muhammad Eid Abbasi.
These 2 examples out of many are enough to illustrate to anyone intelligent the evil effects of the differing of the later generations and their insistence upon it.
And I thought, inshallah, all of you intelligent to know that. Nah.
Unlike the differing of the earlier generations of the Salaf, which did not have any adverse effect on the Ummah. Because of this, the latter are exempt from the verses prohibiting division in the deen, unlike the later generations. May Allah guide us all to the straight path.
Ameen.
Further, how we wish that the harm caused by such differing be limited to among themselves and not extend to the other peoples being given da'wah, for then it would not be that bad. But
it is still bad, but the Shaykh said that this implication of this ikhtilaf went to the people who are non-Muslim, who were invited to Islam. When invited to Islam, we'll ask you, which Islam do you want me to go to? Not to say Shia and Sunnah, Shia. No. In the Sunnah, which one? Shafi'i? Hanafi? Okay. The Hanafis, they believe that when Isa alayhi salam descends down, he would rule by the Hanafi madhab. That's in their books. So if Isa alayhi salam is going to come, he'll abolish all madhab Maliki, madhab Shafi'i, madhab Hanbali, and he will rule by madhab Hanafi. That's what they believe. Allahu al-Musta'an. So they believe Abu Hanifa is infallible, basically. He does not make mistakes, and whatever he says is correct. And let them, I wish that they are courageous enough to stick to everything that Abu Hanifa says. Because they jump from that madhab straight away to make talfiq. And then they would say, for example, regarding the beer out of the wheat. No, that is an assumption, we don't really. But Abu Hanifa says halal, yeah. Beer from the wheat, from the barley. The beer that you find is haram, you call it Abu Hanifa, no problem as long as you don't get drunk. But they don't really bring that about. Okay? So I'm just saying to the brothers that this had resulted in blocking the da'wah from reaching the non-Muslims. When the non-Muslims find this difference, hang on a second, they are worse than the Christians, they're worse than the Jews, have split amongst them. Go ahead.
But it is so bad, it is so sad when they allow it to reach the non-believers in many areas around the world, and their differing obstructs the entry of people in large numbers into the deen of Allah. The book
Dhalam min al-Gharb
by Muhammad.
Does it say the translation of that name?
No.
Translation of that name, darkness from the west. Darkness from the west. That means the west, which is the European countries. Darkness, that means darkness. Darkness is to do with something which is not right. It's being narrated to us from that's from that area. And he says here, Al-Ustad al-Fadil Muhammad al-Ghazali, al-Sheikh, he left it like this, but later on, Muhammad Ghazali is not Ustad nor Fadil. In Arabic means it's not good, because that, he quoted the words, but that person did not stay upon what he had said at the beginning. Now,
in that book, Muhammad al-Ghazali, on page 200, it records the following incident.
Muhammad Ghazali, by the way, now, before he died, he became a adu of the Sunnah, the enemy of the Sunnah. And that is why I ask everybody not to satisfy themselves. Alhamdulillah, upon the haqq, always say, Allahumma ya muthabbit al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. O Lord, the one who affirms the heart, affirm my heart onto your religion. So we have thabat, hatta al-mamat, to stay fast on the religion until you die. You don't know what's going to happen to you, do you? And lots of people were mashallah like this, and a'udhu billah, they shaved their beard and left the religion, they left the prayer, and left everything. So don't you ever think that, oh, I'm secure now. No, don't ever think that. Because you don't know what's going to happen to you. You ask Allah to increase your iman. You ask Allah to make you steadfast to the haqq. For this person, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, gone astray. That person, he used to take the mick out of the sunnah. Muhammad al-Ghazali, later on, after he's done the first books, which are mashallah very good, later on, there was an article which I read myself in the newspaper, and he had a person from the newspaper is having a dialogue with him, and he's asking him, what is the best joke that you have read? What he said. The best joke I've read is a caricature I saw in one of the newspapers. Imam Ghazali said, or not Imam, Al-Ghazali. That is having an Imam having a gloves, boxing gloves, and he's trying to straighten up the rows with it. And he's laughing at that. You understand what I mean? I mean, those people who are caring about feet to feet, shoulder to shoulder, they go between rows and rows. And those people are scorned. This is istihza' bid-deen, this is kufr. So this made him laugh. I'm not saying he's a kafir. This is dalal. So he's using like this, what is it? Like a boxing gloves, an imam, sheikh, and he's, come on, line up. That's taking the mick, basically, bullying the religion. And this is what the kuffar and munafiqun had done at the time of the Prophet of Allah when he was on his way back from the Battle of Tabuk. Allah said, لا تعتذروا قد كفرتم بعد إيمانكم. Don't apologize. You have disbelieved, because Allah knew what is in their hearts. They were munafiqun, taking the mick. They were saying, oh, look at our reciters. They're only good in just filling out the belly. Then they call Qur'an. No, look at just caring about the food. So they're making what? Istihza' billah wa bi ayatillah wa bi rasulih. They're taking the mick. That's Allah called them kuffar. So this person, also another joke that he says, that a person, bunch of people, they call themselves upon the Salaf, they went to a person to go and visit him. They visited him on foot, even he lives miles away, because for them the car is bid'ah. And when they arrived at the house, they did not ring the bell, because the bell is bid'ah. So they start hammering the door with a stick, taking the mick. You understand that? Who says that the bell is a bid'ah and the car is a bid'ah? Allah al-Musta'an. And this man, in his as well, I'm just warning you against him. By the way, there's two Ghazali. One is called Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, the old man, and Muhammad al-Ghazali. And both of them, they were deviant. But Abu Hamid al-Ghazali is the opposite from Muhammad al-Ghazali. Abu Hamid al-Ghazali started not right, and was said and claimed that before he died, that he acknowledges what he has done from the wrongs, and he says, I will die upon the Sahih al-Bukhari. Because he had made a book, it's called Ihya Ulum al-Din, the revival of the religion, but the scholars they call it Imadat Ulum al-Din, the death upon the religion. In this book, actually, it is second book after Quran for the Sufis. Book number 2. Quran, I need to say maybe not book number 1 with the Quran. And Muhammad Ghazali, which is the recent one, hasn't died a long time ago. This is from Egypt. Muhammad Ghazali is from Egypt. This is what I'm talking about. Muhammad Ghazali, not the old, very old one, which is the one before Ibn Taymiyyah and all of that. I'm talking about the recent one. Muhammad Ghazali also, he said regarding, for example, the hadith of Dhubaba, Sahih Bukhari, that if a fly comes into the drink of yours, then immerse it, put it inside, dip it. For only one wing carries the disease and one wing carries the cure. He said, what is this? We're going to be shameful on ourselves, okay, to put this in front of a scientist and they say this is from the Prophet of Allah. Now, we can't say he's a kafir because he doesn't believe, even if it's in Sahih Bukhari, this is from the Prophet of Allah. Because if he believes from the Prophet of Allah and he takes the milk, he's kafir. But he said, no, this is not from the Prophet of Allah, even if it's in Sahih what? So because it did not enter his brain, and intellectually he did not really digest it, he said, it's not really to be accepted, and that is why I said he is from the Ilmaniyin. Ilmaniyin means what? Secularists. And the other example as well from the hadith that he did not really well accept, لا يقتل مسلم بكافر. Prophet said that if a Muslim in Islamic state had killed a non-Muslim, the punishment would be, could be anything, in life imprisonment, whatever, but it cannot be what? Death. Because usually it is the case that a Muslim will not kill the non-Muslims, because he has a code there. So he comes to this hadith, again which is authentic. He says, what are you talking about? If somebody who is nonsense from the Muslims go and kill an engineer from the non-Muslims, I'm not going to kill that person, I will kill him. So again, he is a modernized sort of, calling himself a scholar, of course, modernized scholar. So I'm just warning you against him to start with what he said at the beginning, which was correct. Now,
it so happened during a conference held at the University of Princeton in America that one of the speakers raised a question, one which is a favorite of the Orientalists and the attackers of Islam.
Favorite question. What is that?
Which teachings do the Muslims advance to the world in order to specify the Islam towards which they are inviting?
Well, I have heard this with my own ears from one of them. He said, before we start, to the non-Muslims, before we start, just let me just make sure that you understand, as a non-Muslim is saying, that don't you think that Islam is one? Oh no, we have plenty of that. So he put into the mind of the people already, don't you think this Islam is just Islam? No. You have Islam Shia, Islam Qadianis, Islam Sunnis, and in the Sunni Islam class A, class B, class C, class D. So already the person being put off. Now,
is it Islamic teachings as understood by the Sunnis, or is it as understood by the Imami or Zaydi Shias? Moreover, all of these are divided further amongst themselves.
That means the Sunnis divided among themselves, and the Imams divided themselves, and the Zaydis divided among themselves. Now,
and further, some of them believe in limited progression in thought, while others believe obstinately in fixed ideas.
Meaning, some of them they are willing to expand, and some of them they are orthodox, stuck to the old thing. Now,
the result was that the inviters to Islam left those being invited in confusion, for they were themselves utterly confused.
Subhanallah. This is what Ghazali is saying this, that they were in confusion because they are themselves in confusion. Now there's a footnote there, and I say,
I now say,
this is Shk.Abu say, now,
Muhammad al-Ghazali's recent writings, such as his newly released book entitled As-Sunnah, that is the prophetic Sunnah between the people of Hadith and the people of Fiqh, have confirmed that he himself is one of those inviters to Islam who are themselves utterly confused.
So he's talking about the confused before, he's confused himself. Definitely had made that.
his writings.
Okay, we want you to, inshallah, to finish that on your own, because now I've explained so many things about Al-Ghazali. So, but there is scholars who have refuted Al-Ghazali. Okay, we mentioned there for you to look. All right. So we're going back now to the matter itself. Leave the footnote.
Okay.
Go on.
In the preface to Hadiyya al-Sultan
Hadith al-Sultan ila Muslimi bilad al-Yaban. Japan.
He says Japan.
Yeah, Japan, which is Yaban.
By Allama Sultan al-Masumi, rahimahullah. The author says, a query was posed to me by the Muslims from Japan, from the cities of Tokyo and Osaka in the Far East. What is the actual deen of Islam? What is a madhab? Is it necessary for one ennobled by the deen of Islam to adhere?
I mean, ennobled by the deen. He became a Muslim. Is it on condition upon him to make himself abided by one of those four madhab?
To adhere to one of the four madhabs? That is, should he be a Maliki, Hanafi, Shafi or Hanbali, or is it not necessary? This was because...
Does it mention Hanbali there?
It does.
Okay. No, because mine doesn't mention. Go on.
This was because a major differing, a filthy dispute had occurred here when a number of groups of Japanese intellectuals wanted to enter into the deen of Islam and be ennobled by the nobility of Iman. When they proposed this to some Muslims present in Tokyo, some people from India said, it is best that they choose the madhab of Abu Hanifa rahmahullah, for he is the lamp of the Ummah.
Yes, Siraj al-Ummah, they call him. Go ahead.
Some people from Indonesia, Java, said,
no, they have to be Shafi'is.
No, they should be Shafi'i. So when the Japanese heard these statements, they were extremely perplexed and were thrown off their original purpose. Hence, the issue of the madhabs became a barrier in the path of their accepting Islam.
You did not embrace Islam because of that. Now, this is the third shubha now. Third shubha, yes?
Misconception 3. Others have the idea that we invite to...
This is, by the way, very solid knowledge. This is a heavy dose. You need to concentrate. This is even more important than the book itself. This introduction is more important than the book itself, which is the description of the prayer. This is to do with the methodology, the frame in which we put everything, not just the prayer, everything in it. Zakah, Hajj, okay, fasting, is in that frame. So that frame, you have to understand it. If you don't understand your frame, you're lost. Now.
Misconception 3. Others have the idea that we have to we invite to...
What time is the prayer? Well, that's not here. 53.
Misconception 3. Others have the idea that what we invite to of following the Sunnah and not accepting the views of the Imams contrary to it means to completely abandon following their views and benefiting from their opinions and ijtihad. Answer.
Right. So do you understand that? This conception that he says here that whatever you're calling to, which is to follow the Sunnah, is actually leaving and abandoning the sayings of the Imams completely, and not to benefit from their opinions and ijtihad. So basically you are neglecting those scholars by saying that you follow the book and the Sunnah. So let's just now encounter that misconception. Now.
Answer. This idea is far is as far as
this is alleged claim. This alleged claim, is far from being truth.
As far as far from the truth. It is false and obviously flawed, as is clearly evident from our previous discussion, all of which suggests otherwise. All that we are calling to is to stop treating the madhab as a deen, placing it in the position of the Quran and the Sunnah, such that it is referred to in the case of dispute, and when extracting a new judgment for unexpected circumstances, as the so-called jurists of this age do when setting new rules for personal matters, marriage, divorce, etc., instead of referring to Quran and the Sunnah to distinguish the rights from the wrong, the truth from the falsehood. All of this on the basis of their differing is a mercy, and their idea of pursuing every concession, ease and convenience. How fine was the saying of Sulaiman al-Taymi rahimahullah: were you to accept the concessions of every scholar, in you would gather every evil.
Let me explain that, maybe it's a bit German.
Yeah.
But the claim, which is a misconception there, is that what you're calling to is to abide yourself by the book and the Sunnah. He's saying that, that is, you're neglecting all that heritage from those scholars, Malik, Shafi'i, Hanifa, and Ahmad bin Hanbal, and you are saying that you should not really take any benefit from them. And this is, by the way, going to be the last thing before we make the adhan. It's 53, you said, yeah? Okay. So he said, this is totally nonsense, and it's batil. Because we have stated and the facts before, that what we are calling to is not to treat the madhab as a religion. So when you have a new issue or a new matter, you want to find what Allah wants us to do, what His Prophet ﷺ wants us to do. You, instead of referring to the book and the Sunnah, you refer to what? Your madhab. So you go, what is Abu Hanifa had said regarding this issue? Instead of saying what Allah has said and what His Messenger ﷺ had said. And you yourself, learned people, talking about the scholars, not the layman, not the one who's not really knowing anything. No, I'm talking about the scholars themselves. What did Abu Hanifa say regarding this issue? And they will satisfy themselves with what that madhab or that imam had said. So they treat it as a religion. And every time they have been faced with this, they would say, well, you know, it's a mercy. So we take from the madhab of the Hanafi, and they take from the madhab of the Shafi'i, another one take from the madhab of the Maliki. Subhanallah. Is the haqq is four? Haqq is one. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you cannot just take from this or that. So when my son studied in a Diabandi school, the Quran, to memorize it, every time he does something to make wudu, for example, he makes wudu the way I taught him, which is from the hadith and the sunnah. Every time he prays, and he prays according to the way that I taught him from the book and the sunnah. So those who are abiding by the Hanafi madhab say to him, no, this wudu is wrong. The wudu is supposed to be like this and this. Prayer is wrong. So he comes to me, I say to him, go and tell him, I am Hanbali. Don't say to him Salafi. Because there's no Salafi madhab. So once he went to say to them, I am Hanbali, the trick worked. Didn't even touch him. Khalas, Hanbali is alright, no problem. You could be Hanbali, you could be Shafi'i, no problem. So they have Somalis who are Shafi'is. So the Somali's friend, he is Salafi, he says, I'm Shafi'i. I'm Hanbali. Khalas, they accept that. But to say Salafi? No, that's not a religion yet. Only have four religions. So alhamdulillah, the trick word, and I'm really talking about something which is a reality. Something's happening these days. In the schools who are called themselves Islamic schools. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Our brother, the doctor, he wants to share with us what he experiences himself as well into the institution where he teaches. Now.
Bismillah. This is just a very short incident, which is compared to this big occasions and big events, nothing, but still happening, and we would face it, I believe. When when I was leading one of the congregations of the Salah, at the end of the Salah in the institute, one of the ustads from this particular madhab came and asked me a question, Ustad, have you done full wudu? So it implied, I understood, that whether I have done the masah on the socks or whether I did the full wudu or not. So I said, what is the problem? It should be okay. He said that no, for us, if we did wudu on the socks, then the wudu is not valid, so we'll not be able to pray. And then later on, one of the policies was changed that the non-Maulanas are not allowed to lead the prayer. So it still happens. And I told the Ustaz that, when you go to Haram, we do not ask the shuyukh, what did you do? We would pray with them. But it doesn't, the aql doesn't work.
That is why some of them, they will not pray, or if they pray, they will repeat the prayer. Because the Imams of the Haram, they wipe over the sock. The Hanafis madhab, they believe that the wiping only over the khuf, which is the leather socks. But the normal socks, if you wipe over it, it will not suffice. That means your wudu is invalid, and the person who is praying behind you will have an invalid prayer. But we say that even if the person who believes that whatever he's doing in the prayer is correct, then it is correct for him, correct for us. Do you understand that? So if it's correct for him, it's correct for us. So for example, if the Hanafi was an imam and he decided not to recite the Fatiha, and you know that the Hanafi man, that they regard the Fatiha is not a pillar, they regard it compulsory. Meaning that if you don't recite the Fatiha, you sin, but your prayer is what? Valid. So he led me in the prayer. I will never treat his prayer to be invalid, because he does not treat it invalid, because he truly believes. And I will not detach myself from praying behind him. Unless I had a debate with him, and I thought that this person is not actually following the haqq. He's just a person stubborn, he doesn't want to listen to the haqq. So after we have a dialogue, and I feel that person, hang on a second, he doesn't really hear, he knows the haqq, but he's sticking to the madhab because he thinks this is a religion, then I would not really pray behind him. But most likely that these people, they will be following Abu Hanifa's madhab because they believe Abu Hanifa is what? Infallible, mistakenless. This is another one of these things as well. Later on we're going to discuss. Let's go to Ibn Abdul Bar, what he says.
Related by Ibn Abdul Bar in Jami' Bayan al-Ilm, volume 2, page 91 and 91, who said after it, there is ijma, consensus of opinion on this. I know of no contrary view.
That means if you take in the concession of every scholar, then you have all of the evil. So if you take in for example, the concession of Abu Hanifa regarding a certain issue, which other scholars say is not right, and you take in the concession of Shafi'i in one issue, which other scholars is not so right. So he who does, for example, make the beer out of the wheat or the barley to be halal, like Imam Abu Hanifa, he is the one who also made it is not allowed to, for example, sing and use singing. So if you take just the concession from this, concession from that, you are actually making a different religion.
All this pursuing of concessions for the sake of it is what we reject, and it agrees with ijma as you see. As for referring to the Imam's views,
this is what we deny. We deny that. We don't really believe or adopt the opinion of gathering the concession of all the scholars. No problem to have this concession, because it is taysir, this is making facilitation. It is not. Now,
as for referring to the Imam's views, benefiting from them and being helped by them in understanding the truth, where they have differed and there is no text in the Quran and the Sunnah, or when there is need for clarification, we do not reject it.
That means there is need clarification from the book and the Sunnah. Something needs to be clarified. Something we don't reject that. We have to get these scholars to help us in order to aid us to understand the text. This is what we command. Now,
in fact, we enjoin it and stress upon it, for there is much benefit expected in this for whoever treads the path of being guided by the Quran and the Sunnah. Allama Ibn Abdul Bar rahimahullah says in the volume 2, page 182.
72. Can I just ask everybody, please come closer and leave no gaps. Jazakallah. Everybody come closer and you'll leave no gaps. The gaps is not really allowed in this class. Sunnah is, if you're reading the Sunnah, you want to be the Sunnah, inshallah. As close as possible. Go ahead.
Hence, my brother, you must preserve the fundamentals and pay attention to them. You should know that he who takes care over preserving the sunnahs and the commandments stated in the Quran considers the views of the jurists to assist him in his ijtihad upon open up different angles of approach and explain sunnahs which carry different possible meanings, does not blindly follow the opinion of any one of them the way the sunnah should be followed without analysis, nor ignores what the scholars themselves achieved in preserving and reflecting on the sunnahs, but follows them in discussion, understanding and analysis, is grateful to them analysis and is grateful to them for their efforts through which they have benefited him and alerted him about various points, praises them for their correct conclusions, as in the majority of cases, but does not clear them of errors just as they did not clear themselves. Such is the pursuer of knowledge, who is adhering to the way of the pious predecessors. Such is the really fortunate and truly guided. Such is the follower of the sunnah of his Prophet ﷺ and the guidance of the companions radiallahu anhum.
Right, so the last sentence is supposed to be the first sentence, basically, if you understand it. The last sentence is supposed to be the first sentence. So the ones who are following the haqq, holding to what the salaf, the predecessors, the companions were upon, they will always take the opinions of those scholars, something to help them, to aid them to understand the text. And he will not follow one person to say that he's infallible, but actually he would thank them for what they have done and praise them upon what they have said rightly, and would excuse them for what they said wrongly, because every person is not infallible. They will not themselves be infallibles who are as well taking the opinion of such and such scholar. So from this, inshallah, we go to the fourth point. We skip what is left, and fourth shubha, misconception.
Misconception 4. There exists another common misconception.
And this is very important one, which is?
Among the muqallideen, which bars them from practicing the sunnah, which it is apparent to them that their madhab is different to it in that issue. They think that practicing that sunnah entails faulting the founder of the madhab. To them, finding fault means insulting the imam. If it is if it is not allowed to insult any individual Muslim, how can they insult one of their imams?
So basically the misconception here, that which is a barrier for them not to really follow the sunnah, is that these muqallid, they say that when we see, for example, yes, there is another madhab which is different from our madhab, and if we follow that madhab, it means we are saying about our imam of our madhab is wrong. And we say this wrong, that means we are insulting him. And insultation of a Muslim is not allowed. How about we insult an imam, not a normal Muslim? This blocks them from following the haqq. What is the answer?
The answer? This reasoning is totally fallacious and born of not understanding the sunnah. Otherwise, how can an intelligent Muslim argue in such way? The Messenger of Allah ﷺ himself said, when the one making a judgment strives his utmost and arrives at the correct result, he has 2 rewards. But if he judges, striving his utmost, and passes the wrong judgment, he has 1 reward.
So again, this is very important. Any person who makes a judgment, and is qualified to make a judgment, then he's knowledgeable. But if he's not knowledgeable, he is ignorant, how can he make a judgment? Any knowledgeable person, when he makes a judgment, any imam, when he takes a one path or one answer from 2 answers or 3 answers, and he has strived to arrive to the haqq, then he hit the target, correct? And he's got double reward. If he was mistaken for any reason, maybe the hadith that he depended upon was not authentic, or there was no hadith and he depended upon his opinion, and later on we found out that he was wrong, he is rewarded 1 reward. So his imam, the knowledgeable, the scholar, fluctuating between double reward and 1 reward. Whereas the ignorant, which is not allowed to make an ijtihad, he cannot go and make a decision because he's ignorant, he fluctuates between 1 sin and many sins. Regardless of he hits the target or he doesn't hit the target, because he's not allowed to make ijtihad. You have to ask. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you have no knowledge. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. So this hadith
This hadith refutes the above argument and explains lucidly and without any obscurity that if someone says so and so was wrong, its meaning under the Sharia is so and so has one reward. So if he is rewarded in the eyes of the one finding fault, how can you accuse the latter of insulting him? This is doubt that...
Can I ask just to close that? Close the microphone, please. No, but...
You're going to get the game all the time. There's a button there, just press the button. It's in the box, maybe in the box. The one who knows, please, can you just go there and make it easier? That's it, Jazakallah. It's finished. The one who knows makes it quickly for us. Now. Yeah.
There is doubt that this type of accusation is baseless and anyone who makes it must retract it. Otherwise, it is he who is insulting Muslims, not just ordinary individuals among them, but they are great imams among the companions, successors, and subsequent mujtahid imams and others. This is because we know for sure that these illustrious personalities used to fault and refute each other. It is reasonable to say they used to insult each other. No, in fact, it is authentically reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself faulted Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu in his interpretation of a man's dream, saying to him, "You were right in some of it and wrong in some of it." So did he sallallahu alaihi wasallam insult Abu Bakr by these words? One of the astonishing effects this misconception has on its holders is that it prevents them from following the Sunnah when it is different to their madhab, since to them practicing it means insulting the Imam, whereas following him, even when contrary to the Sunnah, means respecting and loving him. Hence, they insist on following his opinion to escape from this supposed disrespect. These people have forgotten, I'm not saying pretended to forget, that because of this notion, they have landed in something far worse than that from which they were fleeing.
Okay, so we understand. Okay, we'll deal with it. Right, so those people basically, they believe that when you say that such and such an imam wrong, that means you are accusing him and you are actually insulting him.
So somebody put the speakers up.
One of them, there's two mics at the bottom and the top.
The microphone is at the bottom as well. That's the one. Can you just switch it off as well? Allah musta'an. We fixed the problem there, we got a problem here. The brother who knows to do this, please help us. Jazakumullah khair, please. And switch off the microphones. Okay, here inshallah. Because it makes a hum. It's a gain of the microphones. This is one other knowledge we have to teach you. See difference? Okay. Can we just do that? Jazakallah khair. Or shall I make it every time I have to? Clearly sure. Right. So if you have said that your imam is wrong, it doesn't mean that you have insulted your imam. That's what it means. And he's saying that, did the Prophet of Allah, when he said Abu Bakr is wrong, insulted Abu Bakr? No, he did not, of course. But listen here. This is even worse. They didn't realize this. Which is talking about the Prophet ﷺ himself. My dear boy, hello? Reading the Quran this way with the class is not being right. Just could you lower your voice, Jazakallah khairan, my dear boy? Or you come inshallah with us? Sorry?
It's not him who's reading loud.
Sorry?
It's not him who's reading loud.
Ah, who is he? Sorry, my dear boy. Come here, come, the class. Better than the Quran that you're reading. Much better. Wallahi. Come to the class. How can you read Quran while talking? This is not right. So the one who's reading loud, please don't read loud because you are actually disturbing the class. Jazakumullah khairan. Barakallah feek ya Shaykh. Now. Right. So those people forgotten something. Read what the Prophet ﷺ, which is the worst thing.
It should be said to them, if to follow someone means that you are respecting him and to oppose him means that you are insulting him, then how do you allow yourselves to oppose the examples of the Prophet ﷺ and not follow it, preferring to follow the Imam of the Madhab in a path different to the Sunnah, when the Imam is not infallible and insulting him is not kufr?
No, go on.
If you interpret opposing the Imam as insulting him, then opposing the Messenger of Allah ﷺ is more obviously insulting him. In fact, it is open kufr, and from which we seek refuge with Allah. If this is said to them, they cannot answer to it by Allah except one retort which we hear time and again from some of them, that we have left this sunnah trusting in the Imam of the Madhab, and he has more learned. He was more learned about the sunnah than us.
Okay, so what is the difference between their saying and the saying of a Christian person who says, my priest, he must be correct because he's a knowledgeable person and we follow our priest? What is the difference? Those people, when they, for example, allowed for themselves not to differ from their Imam because they believe that that is an insultation, how can they allow themselves to differ from the Prophet of Allah? It's not an insultation for the Prophet of Allah. Prophet of Allah said that. He said, no, the Imam, we follow him because we think the Imam is more knowledgeable. But your Imam did not see that hadith. That Imam did not see that. If that Imam said that hadith, Abu Hanifa, he would repent to Allah to contradict the hadith of the Prophet of Allah. We have discussed that before. Hanifa would be as far as he can from making a judgment where the hadith says something else. How dare he would do that? But those people still, after Abu Hanifa's life, they still could see with their own eyes that Abu Hanifa is wrong in this issue, but still. But the followers, of course, when it suits them, they will jump from one mother to another. And I told you the story of a person who had his son divorce his wife 3 times. Divorce, divorce, divorce. Did I say that to you? Yes or no? No. No, in the last class, not the one who comes to my classes. The last class, did I mention it? People don't say no. And they were my classes. Divorce, divorce, divorce. 3 times. Now he went to his sheikh, which is the Hanafi. He said, his wife, your wife is divorced completely. That's it. You're not allowed to go back to it. Now he wanted to jump to another madhab. He went to the Maliki. Still the same answer. The Shafi. Still the same answer. When he went to the Hanbali, still the same answer. But he wants his son to go back to that wife of his. And he thinks his son is wrong. So when he said divorce, 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 he wants to make it not to be divorced completely. All the Imam says complete. So all the sheikhs, Maulana, Saab, Imam Saab. You know, the time of the Prophet of Allah, if he divorced in one sitting, in one time, divorce 3 times, or even divorce, 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 it counts what? 1 divorce. But Umar Khattab radiallahu anhu, he wanted to teach the people a lesson at that time. He said, any person says divorce, 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 we'll make it what? Divorce. From that time of Umar Khattab until the time of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And it was 3 divorce, counted 3 divorce. Ibn Taymiyyah said, that was the time of Umar Khattab. We have to return to the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He who does 3 divorce in one go, like Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says, it is what? 1. So this guy, after insulting those people who calling themselves, they call him whom they call Wahhabis. They don't call themselves Wahhabis. He is now coming to the Wahhabi rescue. He comes to the Shaykh of this Imam, for example, this masjid. Or Imam masjid is well known for the Sunnah. You know, my wife, my daughter-in-law was divorced by my son 3 times. What do you think? 3 times? It's covered 1 divorce. Oh, Wahhabi madhab is good now. Of course, Ibn Taymiyyah is not Wahhabi, but that's what they call him. MashaAllah, it's very good. So now he switched to what? Switch just momentarily. Please, can you make me fatwa? Not me fatwa, khalas. At least a paper, and he goes, oh, alhamdulillah. And after that, Wahhabi is no good. He got what he wanted, and he made his daughter-in-law to go to his son, and that's it. And the same thing the same scenario goes again and again. So we say to the people, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be followers of the haqq. Don't be followers of your whims and desire. And I think we have to conclude now and finish quickly, because this is the introduction. Next week we'll start inshallah the book. Now,
our answer to this is from many angles, which have already been discussed at length in this introduction. This is why I shall briefly limit myself to one approach, a decisive reply by the permission of Allah. I say,
this is the knockout answer, he's going to say, regarding that misconception number 4. Now,
the Imam of your madhab is not the only one who was more learned about the Sunnah than you. In fact, there are dozens, nay hundreds of Imams who too were more knowledgeable about the Sunnah than you. Therefore, if an authentic Sunnah happens to differ from your madhab and it was taken by one of these other Imams, it is definitely essential that you accept this Sunnah in this circumstance.
because you can't say he's wrong, you're going to insult him according to what you're decided. You can't say he's wrong, you've insulted him. Now,
This is because your above mentioned argument is of no use here. For the one opposing you will reply, we have accepted this Sunnah trusting in our Imam. Who accepted it. In this instance, to follow the latter Imam is preferable to following the Imam who has differed from the Sunnah. This is clear and not confusing to anyone, Allah willing. Because of all the above, I am able to say, since this book of ours has collected the authentic Sunnah reported from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the description of his prayer, there is no excuse for anyone to not act on it. For there is nothing in it which the scholars have unanimously rejected, as they would never do. In fact, in every instance, several of them have adopted the authentic Sunnah. Any one of them who did not do so is excused and rewarded once, because the text was not conveyed to him at all, or it was conveyed but in such a way that to him it did not constitute proof, or due to other reasons which are well known among the scholars.
okay. This is Shaykh al-Albani states why the scholars, the Imams had differed. He says, one of the reasons maybe, that some of them did not have the proof of the Prophet. Others, he had the proof, but he does not make a hujjah, maybe it's unauthentic. There's a book for Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, in which in that book, rahimahullah, he states about 8 reasons why the Imams had differed from one another. Some of them did not have this proof, some of them had the proof but it's not authentic, some of them they had the proof but did not have another proof to abrogate it. Okay? So, I'lam al-A'immat al-A'lam, the book of Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, which is that is to stipulate the differences among the scholars and to bring them to the causes of the reasons, I would urge the people as well to look into that book. I think it's been translated. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and yanfa'ana bima qad sami'na. It's the last thing that we're going to be talking about, which is the last chapter, last paragraph. Now,
However, those after him in front of whom the text is firmly established have no excuse for following his opinion. Rather, it is obligatory to follow the infallible text. The message has been the purpose of this introduction. Allah the Mighty and Sublime says in Surah Anfal, verse
يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم واعلموا أن الله يحول بين المرء وقلبه وأنه إليه تحشرون. Now,
translation of the meaning of the verse in English. O you who believe, give your response to Allah and His Messenger when He calls you to that which will give you life. And know that Allah comes in between a man and his heart, and it is He to whom you shall all be gathered. Allah says the truth, He shows the way. He is the best to protect and the best to help. May Allah send prayers and the peace on Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and on his family and his companions. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds.
right. The translation of the book of Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah is the lifting of the blame from the difference among the scholars. رفع الملام عن الأئمة الأعلام. lifting off the blame or removing the blame from the scholars why they differ. So this is a book, you need to refer to it, and I think it's been translated into English. It's not a big one, it's a small one. Right, okay. After this, we're going to give you 2 minutes for questions and answers. What time is Isha? Nobody knows?
10:02.
10:02. Okay, we're going to, 2 minutes please. I will need to leave after straight away, so I'm going to give you questions which are linked to what we say. Fadal.
First, that has to match between a husband and wife or between a mother and daughter. If somebody's learning an area that they haven't mastered, are they allowed to make ijtihad in their own that personal issue, or do they have to go and refer it to someone? If the issue is very, very private or whatnot, they don't want to discuss it with people, then they get ijtihad.
No. Nobody can make ijtihad regarding an issue which is to do with religion, unless he's knowledgeable. So if the person is not knowledgeable, he needs to seek the haqq regarding that issue. So I can't solve my problem with the 3 divorce between myself and myself, unless I'm a scholar and I know what I'm talking about, or a knowledgeable person. So I need to seek the knowledge if I don't know the knowledge. If I know the knowledge, alhamdulillah, I will judge according to what is my knowledge, because I know my knowledge is correct. Now, second question. Tafadhal.
Hanifi or Shafi, does that mean we're following on Shafi or the madhab?
Is the following the Imam is following the madhab? No. According to the madhabis, the muqallida, yes, following the Imam is following the madhab. But according to what we have learned, following the haqq is following the Imam. Following the haqq is following the madhab. Do you understand what we said? I'll repeat what I said. According to these people who are blind followers, following the Imam is following the madhab. According to what we have learned, following the haqq, even if it differs from the Imam, is following the madhab, following the Imam. Do you understand that now? Okay. We are the true Shafi'is. We are the true Hanafis. We are the true Malikis. We are the true Hanbalis. We are the ones who are abided ourselves with what they have said. These people, they put them like prophets. Prophet 1, Prophet 2, Prophet 3, Prophet 4. We don't do that. So we respect our scholars, but we don't make them like infallible like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that is why Imam Shafi'i said, إِذَا صَحَّ الْحَدِيث فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِ. If the hadith is correct, this is my madhab. If you have seen a hadith, Imam Shafi'i said, and you have seen me saying something, then consider my madhab according to that hadith that you have found out about. That's my madhab. So we are the true followers. We are the madhabiyin. Okay?
So when you my madhab, is that my set of principle or my madhab?
Which one are you talking about? Your madhab or madhab of the Shafi'i, muqallida, or which one?
Imam says it's my madhab.
When somebody says that's my madhab, when a scholar says that, no. My madhab, that means my way. Madhab means way. Tariqah, this is my path. Your madhab is Islam, isn't it? Madhab is self, isn't it? Madhab your deen, it's a way of tariqah. So the Imam said, my madhab is my path, I choose. But when the scholars say this is, he has been brought up on the Hanbali madhab, or usuluhu Hanbali. It means he had learned the stipulated principles through which he could extract the proofs, or extract from the proofs, according to the Hanbali way, or according to the Shafi'i way. Do you understand me? But they will never mean that if Abu Hanifa said something, or Ahmad said something, and the Prophet of Allah said something, they will leave the Prophet of Allah to the same Imam Ahmad. They will never do that. So Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he was brought up on that Hanbali usul. That means to extract from the proofs according to the stipulated principles set by Ahmad bin Hanbal. Those stipulated principles, they are qawa'id, rules. Those rules, they had, some of them differed from one scholar to another. How did this rule arrive? From a pile of text. From book and the Sunnah, they arrived to that rule. Okay? Some of them, they differed. They take this rule and then they derive from that hadith or that book or the Quran text the verdict. Now, I'll have to have the last question.
For the purposes of studying fiqh, some people say that the
follow a madhab is easier, or to follow the fiqh of a madhab is easier to arrive at the principle. Is that statement true, or is it?
To follow a madhab is easier. I think it's easy to follow the book of the Sunnah, but to follow a madhab is easier. We say that the people are not the same, Ya Abdul Qadir. It's not the same. People are different. People are layman, doesn't know anything. Person with student knowledge like yourself, mashallah, could read, you know what is the man said, what is the scholar said. Another one which is a scholar. So each one has ways of arriving to the haqq. The layman, we're going to tell him, no one, you have to arrive to the conclusion from the book and the sunnah. He said, what are you talking about? I don't know anything. I just want you to tell me, please, brother, halal, haram. That's it. Halal, haram. Yajuz, no yajuz. Principle, not permissible. We're going to go and teach him, no, brother, you have to go to university and learn 4 years and sit in front of the sheikhs, and then we have to arrive the answer. Nobody would say that. For that person, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Just ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. Now, question is, that means could he be Hanafi? No problem, but we say to him that he shouldn't be fanatic. Do you understand? He cannot believe that Abu Hanifa is what? Infallible. So if, for example, somebody who's a scholar or knowledgeable, he explained to him that Abu Hanifa is wrong in this issue, and he explained to him, even though he can arrive, but he felt that the haqq is with that person. But because of his whims and desire, because the people would label him, you left your Hanafi madhab, just like they told Abu Talib, you left the religion of your forefathers. He will leave the saying of the Prophet to that. This is what we say to him, you're wrong. But otherwise, he has to. He could be Hanafi, he could be Shafi'i, he could be Abdul Khaliqi, the follower of the Imam of yours. He could be following anyone. He could be following any person who thinks a scholar. It is knowledgeable for him. Okay? As for the student of knowledge, he could really see now. The scholar's got this proof, the scholar's got that proof. Which one is right? As for the scholar, he should never ever make taqleed. He should arrive to the conclusion. Can't make taqleed. He could make simple taqleed. But in the areas which we call, for example, faqih, knowledgeable scholar. He wants to make an issue regarding a matter in religion. He's faqih. He has to make taqleed regarding the hadith. He has to take the hadith from Shk.Abu. So he made taqleed not authentic, but to arrive at the conclusion, he should not make taqleed because it's a scholar. Alright? As I said, the book which I have advised you to read, Bid'ah al-Ta'assub al-Madhabi, has all of that. Okay? Fadal, last question. Last after the last.
You talked about the Ghazali.
Huh?
About the Ghazali. Just I want to ask you, which one of the Ghazali, the old one or the new one, who doesn't believe?
I think you were not with us, that's why you're asking this question.
No, I want to know which one who doesn't believe the existence of the jinn. Is it Abu Hamid or Muhammad Ghazali?
The one who does not believe in the jinn, is it the existing Al-Ghazali before? He believes in the jinn. Abu Hamid Ghazali. This one, Allahu A'lam. I can't say anything regarding the jinn. But I would say to you that he had done lots of things even more than this. I don't know if he doesn't believe in the jinn, because if he does not believe in the jinn, he's a kafir. Do you understand that? That's why the Qadianis are non-Muslims. Okay, and I say, brothers, kafir, a very important issue. Kafir means kafara, ghatta al-haqq. He had obscured the haqq. And the word kafir is being taken by the media to say, look, infidels. We don't use that word, infidels. You know what infidel means? He's like, he has to be killed because not from the law of the land, or the religion of the land. No, kafir means a disbeliever. So you say kafir, you don't say kafir. Huh? Kuffar! We don't say that, brother. They say kuffar, disbelievers. And just like they call us, disbelievers. Disbelievers in their concepts, in their ideas. We accept that from them as well. They say we're disbelievers, but we don't hold guns to each other. Okay, they're neighbors with each other. There's this harmony. So they believe that we are the Christian, they believe. And there's no one who does not believe that Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, had died on the cross for the original sin. You are not a believer. Ask him, what is that? That means you're not going to go to paradise. Eternal garden. So for them, we are kuffar in the hellfire. Do you understand that? For the Jews, we are kuffar in the hellfire. Why do they focus on what the Muslims say regarding them? So each religion, the Hindus, they say that you are making monotheism, you should be polytheism. So polytheism is the norm. You are monotheistic. So when you go and tell the Buddhist or the Hindu that you are doing shirk, he will say to you, so what? More gods is better than one God. That's according to them. Okay? More gods, more than one. So this is, I would say, the flexibility that we have, alhamdulillah to say, but we are people who are most peaceful people. And we cannot really tolerate for ourselves to live in such a country and then use their resources and then at the same time go and put bombs here and there. That's not really on the Muslims. I don't know what agenda they have got, these people. Subhanakallah bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu.